Welcome, everyone. And we're back with another episode of Let's Talk Broncos. I'm Bree Maestas here with Joey Richards. We kick Zach off the pod, so anything goes today. Joey, how are you?
I'm doing good. It feels like the teacher is gone from class. It feels like it feels like that day when the substitute comes in and it's just a free for all in the classroom now that Zach Seegers isn't here. I'm ready for a very fun and exciting podcast. Bree, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. You pointed out my sweatshirt to start the show.
Yes.
Super happy to rep CU proudly again. There's been a lot of talk of whether or not people are getting overexcited for this. I don't blame anybody. If you're watching,
Mm-mm.
it's not a twice shame on you kind of thing. It's okay to be excited about things. This is exciting. Want you to share in the momentum here. If you're watching over on Twitter and you want to interact with us and ask questions, get in on the discussion. We'll be talking just about everything tonight as we recap some of the Ravens game, look forward because it is Chiefs week, and talk a little bit Buffs, college football. We have a really exciting show. Chiefs week. We'll get
Chiefs.
more into that. You'll have videos from us on Friday and Saturday as we do bold predictions and a Saturday preview for the Chiefs game, which I feel like we already know how that's going to play out. We do have a really fun show though, because we do have clips from both Robbie and Frankie tonight. Both of them are offensive. We're going to not offensive, but offensive as we talk about what's been going right and what has been going tremendously wrong with the Denver Broncos. With Russell Wilson behind center. Got a lot of you watching over on Twitter. Like I said, if you want to talk to us, if you want to go have some fun with us, go ahead and search for Mile High Sports over on YouTube or Facebook. We're live over there. All your comments will get highlighted. I'll choose them as they come across the board, but I'm reading every single one of them, so don't try to sneak anything past me. And on that note, let's get started, right?
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. I'm going to open up the show because I think we should. Well, here, I'll let you choose. Good news
Okay.
or bad news first?
Yes. Okay, we got two clips here. I think let's start off with bad news because that is from the game, or good news. We'll start off with good news because that is from the game earliest, and then let's move into the bad news because Broncos fans have had so much bad news. Let's just go. Let's just go with the good news first. Let's go with the good news first.
Roll the clip.
What's going on, Denver fans? Actually, you know what? I apologize. I feel like calling somebody a Denver fan at this point is pretty much a derogatory term. But anyways, what's going on, everybody? It's Robbie here, and today I will be breaking down the toss zone plays that Clint Kubiak has used in the past 2 games as a play caller. So basically, all it is, again, it's just a regular base inside-outside zone call, but it's tagged with a toss action. And I'm sure you all have heard the Mike McDaniel clip that went around a couple months ago before the season started, where he talked about the advantage to it. And basically what he said was it allows for a lot of overcommitment and lateral movement from the second level. So, as soon as the defense sees a toss, they're going to overcommit to that side, and you're going to get a lot of movement there, and it opens up the cutback lane. But additionally, what it does is it gets the ball into the running back's hands faster so he can make those cuts that open up. You're going to see it on this play right here. It's going to be an inside zone split with a toss, and once the toss happens, you can see the linebackers overcommit to the right a little bit, and then he's able to break it back up inside.
Okay.
Well, all right, Joey, tell me.
Can I start? Okay, I'm going to start this off with saying I absolutely love that play design. That is a play design I talk about every single week that I love because, okay, especially with the running back like, let's say, Latavius Murray, right? Latavius Murray isn't very great when he has to move laterally. A play like that inside pitch, it's almost like if I were to break it down to Broncos fans, it's very similar to a counter, right? People know what a counter is. People have played Madden. You fake one way, you go the other way. That's a counter. It's very similar to that. You pitch, the play looks like it should be going outside, cut it back in. I love that play for a running back like Latavius Murray. or any of these bigger running backs, or really any running back, but especially these bigger running backs, because they really get a chance to get a full head of steam and start running behind their pads, right? When you play a Derrick Henry, what do people always say? They say you need to get them at the line of scrimmage before they hit that second level, because if they hit that second level and that guy gets his pads under him and he starts rolling down the field and he has a full head of steam, impossible to take down. That's exactly what that play allows for. It allows cutbacks, and it really allows for that running back to get behind his pads and punish people after that. I absolutely love that play design. It's one of my favorites. Robbie did a really good job at highlighting that as well, because I don't know, when I see that play on Twitter, it feels like people think, oh, that was a great cutback by the running back. No, that's designed. That's a design pitch that's supposed to go inside. So credit to Kubiak for that play call. We've been seeing that this entire year. Kubiak just got his let Latavius run straight. Exactly. You want Latavius running straight down the field. You don't want him doing much else. Latavius run straight. I love that. Hashtag Latavius run straight. I might want to get that trending. Shout out to Frankie.
I wonder if we all started tweeting that right now, how quickly we could run up the ranks of the local Denver Twitter sphere. Special shouts out. Wayne King's also in the chat over here interacting with us. If you'd like to interact and come say hello, you can go on over to the YouTube stream, jump in the chat. Wayne's over on Facebook. You can do that as well. If you're tweeting over at us, we can't see it, but we appreciate you anyways. Joey, when we were watching that clip before the show, I was kind of asking you why Denver will sometimes get away from that. Is that not traditionally a play that you could run a lot in your scheme? You wouldn't want to maybe lean on that so much, or do you?
I think you could run it plenty. It's kind of like, from my perspective at least, and I could be wrong here, it is a newer play that I see implemented more and more. I don't remember as much growing up seeing pitches that are designed to go inside. I just don't remember that. But yeah, you can run it. Like, the Broncos have been running that play, and I like it when they do run the play. Unfortunately, the Broncos' run game just isn't very great. If I'm being honest, they could be running left, they could be running right, they could be doing inside pitch, they could be doing inside pitch right, they could be doing outside pitch left, outside pitch right. It's just not working. We're not blocking it. Our running backs aren't very great. But Robbie just displayed a play where it was executed well. I don't think Latavius is exactly... I mean, he's much older in his career. He's way past his prime, right? This is a running back that we saw with the Raiders a long time ago be a productive running back, but that was a while ago. We are seeing this version of Latavius Murray. So I think that is the best way to utilize him. Hashtag let Latavius run straight. But are we going to get consistently good results? I don't really think so. Just maybe a play that I think out of the plays that don't work, I like the most.
So you're telling me you're not a fan of watching him run 20 yards laterally along the line? Listen,
I am just not a fan of watching the Broncos offense. If I'm being honest, that's pretty much what I'm talking about right here. I'm not a huge fan of the Broncos offense. Wayne says it is good for slower backs. Javonte Williams is fast enough to get the corner, as well as the ability to cut and go. So it's a great point. I would also love this play with Javonte because, I mean, Robbie showed it. Like, Latavius hit that second level with ease, right? The difference is Javonte in that second level is so much more of a threat. He is so much more of a threat. He is a guy that you do not want to tackle, especially those DBs. Latavius gets down there, and it's not the biggest threat in the world. I'll be honest, everybody. I would like to see that play even with Javonte Williams. It gives him a clear cutback lane. It's not much processing. Like, yes, you do have to find the hole there, but Javonte, like, it's a designed pretty much pitch counter, right? The hole's there for him. We saw Javonte kill on counters last year. I would have liked to see this more with Javonte as well.
I really like Robbie's point to emphasize that he was sorry for calling us all fans because it feels a little sticky right now. That made me chuckle every single time that I watched that video.
Yeah.
So special shouts out. You can follow Robbie over on Twitter, Robbie underscore NFL. Is that correct?
I
I want to
believe
get
that
it
is
right.
correct. Robbie
I was
underscore
just
NFL.
talking to him, so I want to make sure that I get that right. Yep, Robbie, and that's 2 B's with a Y underscore NFL. And I'll put that up on the screen here in just a little bit. But Joey, you said something about not wanting to watch the Broncos offense because it hurts a little bit. And I'm about to emphasize that point up next. Frankie Abbott from Frankie's Film over on Twitter also broke down the offense. And what's up with Russell Wilson? Here it is.
Okay, let's go.
What's going on, Broncos country? Frankie's Film here, coming at you with another play breakdown on a little bit of a confusing play for Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos offense. So let's get into it. Denver, leading 9-3 with only 5 minutes remaining, faced a pivotal 2nd and 11. Russ used hard count, causing nickel Kyle Hamilton to creep towards the line of scrimmage, revealing his intentions as a blitzer, with all 3 of Hinton, Cam Fleming, and Russell Wilson acknowledging. Upon the snap, as expected, Hamilton flew off of his coverage assignment and into a blitzing role, leaving Hinton wide open over the middle of the field on his inside break. He threw his hands up over the middle, begging for the ball, with Russ looking at him at the top of his drop, but instead Russ decides to throw the ball away down the left sideline. Denver then failed to pick up the 3rd down, is forced to punt, and on the next drive the Ravens march down the field and score a game-deciding touchdown. A game that I think Russ actually played pretty well, and we saw him make some of the throws we expect him to make, but when you look at the tape and you actually see some of the plays he's missing and the meat being left on the bone, it's hard to acknowledge how much this man is going to be getting paid in the next coming years for Denver.
That's a really painful way to put it, Frankie. But I do appreciate your honesty here. Another tremendous breakdown. Joey, what's your initial thoughts after watching that?
I mean, we've been seeing it all year, right? It's like I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. Like, everyone has a different reason of why Russell Wilson is struggling, especially he's so indecisive. He's not seeing what he should be looking at, especially over the middle of the field, which is an issue we've seen for years. But it's highlighted now without his athleticism or ability to escape. I think that's a huge deal in all of this that people are forgetting is like, and also underrating, I feel, was Russell Wilson's ability to escape was a massive part of his game, and we just haven't seen that magic this year. In Frankie's breakdown, it was more so him just not or it was more so him being indecisive, right? That's a throw you should make. Russ decided to not throw it, hold it, take off, and try to do what he could with it, but he should have threw that ball. He absolutely should have thrown that ball, and it's just more of what we've been seeing this entire year, if I'm being honest. Like, we've seen it. How many times, Bree, have you hopped on this podcast and been like, he's missing Greg Dulcich over the middle?
Okay, so not only that, but we have a group chat, obviously, and it's just natural for me every time it happens. And like you said, possibly with Jerry Jeudy, but not to this heat level, is that they're loud. They're very loud misses where you're like, he's obviously completely open. You try to watch the progressions, and even the all 22 is kind of permanently ironing that in my brain, is that there is an issue with missing wide open receivers, and it's not necessarily a progressions thing. So it's hard. It's hard to watch.
No, totally. Like, I don't know how many times this year, and Robbie and Frankie, shout out to Frankie again for that play. My co-host on the Draft podcast every single Thursday. So make sure you're following that, listening to that. But Frankie and Robbie would know a lot more on the terminology of these plays than I would. But I don't know how many times I've seen him miss some sort of high-low read over the middle, where attention is getting driven high, the low is open, and he's still trying to force the ball high. I've seen that so many times this year, and it just further proves that middle of the field throwing thing that Robbie was actually a massive, like, he was the only person really that I saw that was highlighting it as much as it should have been. Even before the Russell Wilson trade went down, this was like a big, big thing for him. It was like, hey, I don't know if he still has it. So I credit to Robbie on that for sure. But it's just another example of it. Like, he's just missing his reads or being indecisive. And I don't know what's up with it. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you guys. about why it just feels like the processing part of his game has decreased. I understand the new coaching and stuff like that, but we are now so far into the season that it should be better, and it's just not. So I think Robbie did a really, really good job and Frankie did a really, really good job of breaking that down for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it can be frustrating. Wayne King had a comment here where he said at least Greg Dulcich was targeted this last game. And I agree. I hope that it happens more often. We've just seen an underutilization, which made Dulcich look like he was possibly regressing from what we all thought he was. He bounces back. Definitely a favored weapon of Russell Wilson. And it goes against the narrative that I seem to push that he's just not seeing him. I think maybe it's a timing thing. Although I did want to point out, I don't know if you guys had talked about it on Monday during the game recap, is how much of, you hear that it's the offensive line, right? That there is an issue with their protection. Russell Wilson has gotten a little bit better of stepping up in that pocket. However, I still feel like sometimes he limits his offensive line's ability to either create or maintain a clean pocket. Are you noticing that getting better, getting worse, staying the same? I'm not necessarily paying attention to it all the time, but I wonder where that's at right now.
So sacks are a quarterback stat, right? I really think that. And this Frankie breakdown that he just showed is a great example of it. If you're a quarterback that's hesitant throwing the ball, it's going to draw that much more pressure to you, right? You need to be able to make quick decisions. This is the NFL, National Football League, and you're a quarterback in it. These edge rushers are freaks. These defensive linemen are freaks. Your processor has to be moving so fast, and I just don't think it's been that way for us this entire year. I totally agree with you. You need to be when your vision is limited and you're not seeing an entire part of the field, of course it's going to look like, oh, nobody's open. Nobody's open. I'm going to go escape. And a lot of time when you escape, like sacks have been a massive part of Russell Wilson's game since he was in Seattle. The difference now is that we're only seeing the sacks. We're not seeing the magic that came with that. And that's kind of what I was hitting on earlier is like before you used to at least see like, oh, wow, Russell Wilson escaped from the pocket. Sure, he gets sacked every once in a while because he's escaping, but we're seeing the benefits of that as well, of him making these big plays off script, receivers working back to the football, just completely against the play or what wasn't the play, and Russell Wilson is still making something happen despite nobody being open, and we have literally seen, I think, almost zero of that, and I really, really honestly think that's the biggest portion of Russell Wilson struggling this year, along with, hey, this was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league for years. This is a point that Robbie's made plenty of times. And he just doesn't seem like he's as accurate this year for whatever reason. I can't tell you why. It just seems like the regression has been massive. It's been massive.
Sure. And if the offense is scoring more than 9 points or more than 10 points, however you want to cut it, it's not necessarily the talk of the town. But because the Broncos aren't winning games and they're not scoring points, it's the one thing that you're going to see people break down the most is what's going wrong with his game. Wayne King is saying a lot of the time Russ is running right into them. I would have to say that's pretty on par. A lot of the times it looks like he gets either stepped on or he steps on somebody, and that is not conducive to running an offense. Frankie makes a point here to say, I do wonder if Kendall needs to shorten that route up. That's another question that I have, and I'm going to pose it to you and Frankie since he's here in the chat. Do you feel like the receivers are maybe not drawing themselves in? Is it on them to kind of own that and maybe stop short if they have to? A lot of the time you feel like the ball either goes right behind them or right over a shoulder. And I don't want to just assume that that's a bad Russ throw, but it's looking like it more often than not.
So the wide receivers definitely need to be playing better. The issue is like, hey guys, when you have as many injuries the Broncos have had, I'm talking like Jerry Jeudy has been in and out of the lineup. KJ Hamler has barely played. We've seen lineups, right, where it's been like practice squad guys. Kendall Hinton is a practice squad player. He started this year as a practice squad guy, and just continue to get moved up until now where he's on the active roster. So this is my thing. Like, I don't expect a ton more from Kendall Hinton. I think Kendall Hinton has over exceeded what I thought Kendall Hinton should be doing as a practice squad player. The issue is that I don't think it should ever look this bad with a quarterback that you traded 2 firsts, 2 seconds, Shelby Harris, Drew Lock, all these, like everything you traded for Russell Wilson along with that contract. I don't think there's any excuses to be like, hey, it makes sense why it's this bad. I really don't think there's an excuse for that. On this particular play, maybe that is the case, but I'm speaking more as a offense as a whole. It shouldn't look this bad.
That seems fair. Frankie is following up with some clarification. Hinton is fine as the 5th best receiver on your roster. He has been arguably a top 2 receiver on the Broncos roster.
Totally. He has been. And Frankie was massive in the camp of Kendall Hinton should make the roster this year. And I think a lot of us were shocked that he didn't make the roster at the beginning. And then now we're kind of seeing why guys like Frankie are so good at this. It's like, yes, obviously he should have. He's been the guy this year in a lot of circumstances. One of the more consistent Broncos targets. I'm not saying that to hype Kendall Hinton up out of this world because I really don't think so. It's probably more indicative of the Broncos' talent this year. But at the same time, like, yeah, he's a pretty good depth player.
Yeah, absolutely. Hard to argue with that. Still have a little bit of time here left, folks. If you want to get your questions and comments in, ask us a couple of things. Hey, it doesn't even have to be football related at this point. We are at your service for Let's Talk Broncos. So if you're watching over on Twitter and you want to interact with us, please do so. We'll be here for a little bit longer. Joey, I know Justin Fields is probably one of your most favorite quarterbacks in the league right now. Right now, I wasn't setting you up for anything sad, but then I realized that was actually a painful. But I wanted to know if there's anyone else in the league that you watch with just a lot of, I don't know, an enamored by their play outside of Tom Brady, obviously.
Yes, and I need to explain this why real quick. You'll see me on the timeline hyping up certain players, being really excited when maybe some guy that typically isn't doing really well does really well. It's because I love the draft and I root for these players. Like I have players that I find in the draft and I love their play style. I love the way they play, and I root for them because of that. Justin Fields is one of them. Laviska Shenault out of CU is another one. I was such a big Laviska Shenault fan. I still like Laviska Shenault. Treylon Burks had a really good catch this last game for a touchdown. I was a massive Treylon Burks fan. If you're getting a hint at what type of receiver I like, that would be it. There's plenty. I think Darnell Wright in this next upcoming draft is a guy that Frankie and I have been loving, and I'm going to be really stoked if he ends up being good. Jalen Phillips, that was one of my biggest. I love Jalen Phillips in Miami now a partner with Bradley Chubb. I always check up to see how he's doing, and he's having a pretty productive career as well.
Productive.
Yeah.
He's up in the top. He's the second most productive rusher right now. Edge rusher.
In Miami for sure. Like, and before the Chubb trade, he was the most productive rusher in Miami. Obviously, now it's a little bit of a tandem, but yeah. Bree, do you have any players that you root for other than Tom Brady?
I was going to say that's not a fair question. It's Tom Brady all the time until he either retires or dies, whichever one comes first. I hope it's not the latter. That would be terribly depressing. Brandon Ayuk, just because he's really Devonta Smith. I just find them to be really fun to watch. A lot of the Buccaneers players are just really fun for me. I love watching Mike Evans play.
Mike Evans is a fun player, Bree. I like watching Mike Evans too.
You can just count on him. Like, he's going to go off, and when he does, it's going to be pretty crazy. I have recently fallen in love with the way Justin Fields has been able to adapt and evolve in his second year in the league, which has been a little scary for him. He obviously hasn't been dealt.
One of us.
It took me a while to get there. It really, really did. If you heard anything I had to say prior to the draft last year, when Pat's name was read on the card, I was like, thank God, because I was hoping they weren't going to go in the direction. And then, it's not like I would trade places. I wouldn't want that pick to be any different. But I am having a heck of a time watching him play. Hopefully, he's able to heal up from that most recent injury. There's a couple of players. I'm not good on the spot, but I'm always constantly sending Zach and Joey different things that I find. And I'm just like, you know what? This is really interesting to me. What's this player doing? Why is he doing it? Why is it so exciting to watch? Gronkowski retiring really, hurt my, you can see where this is going. There's a trend with the players that I appreciate.
Can I ask you real quick? I don't mean to put you on the spot, Brie, but
sure.
Was there a player when you first started getting into football, or maybe even the Broncos, that you really, really enjoyed? It doesn't have to be Bronco. It could be anybody. And I'll give mine too. If you need more time, I'll do mine first.
Yeah, I would. You go ahead first.
Okay, this one's a little bit of a throwback. I really, really liked, obviously, Demaryius Thomas. I've said this a million times, my favorite player. My second favorite player growing up was Ryan Clady, because me and my dad, we would sit there, like, the Broncos were really bad, and we would sit there and be like, all right, this is one of those Ryan Clady games where we're just watching him the entire time. Screw the Broncos, we're watching Ryan Clady. He'd dominate. But a non-Broncos player, I loved Brian Westbrook. I don't know if anyone remembers Brian Westbrook on the Philadelphia Eagles, but a running back that could catch the ball really well, run the ball really well. He was one of those do-it-all type of guys, and I loved watching Brian Westbrook. One of those guys that if I had the chance to play with in Madden, I was going to get him in Madden, like, no matter what. I loved him. How about you, Brie?
It's really hard to say, and because when I first started watching the Broncos, I was little. My parents were fans for such a long time. They went to all the Super Bowls, so I kind of just grew up around it, but I didn't really get to talk it, right? As a female, you kind of get cut out of those conversations just from not anything against anybody. It's just like, maybe I didn't know enough. I didn't know enough to have that conversation, but I always liked watching sports. I think that's why I kind of picked up the people would call me not argumentative. I'm trying to think of the word, but sometimes I just like to be against the grain. So I decided to start cheering for the Patriots, and Tom Brady coming across the screen.
Yeah. He's been in the league for a while. I forgot. It's true. He has been.
It's true. And I can just remember, Bledsoe obviously getting hurt. And I was like, I'm going to cheer for this young kid, because what do I have to lose? And then you have teams that were just so crazy good, and rooting for people like Junior Seau, and just falling in love with those rosters over the years. I knew more of the rosters for the Patriots than I did for the Broncos. And that's just because, it was fun. And I can remember watching the Giants Patriots Super Bowl where I cried with the helmet catch. And so, like, a lot of those things stand out, but I've been watching Broncos games since I was tiny, like little. I just didn't know how to, claim a team and start talking about it. And my mom's loved football for a really long time, but I digress. The reason I was going in this direction, and I would say, there's a ton of players. John Lynch is the first Broncos jersey I ever bought for myself. I owned a Terrell Davis and a Rod Smith when I was young, because obviously the Super Bowls. I think I had Terrell Davis. I think I already said that. But John Lynch was the first one I purchased, because he was such an impact player. I like high impact, high energy, big personalities. And I wanted to wrap that up with Derek Wolfe was probably my favorite player off of the Super Bowl 50 team.
I forgot about that.
Like that era was just so exciting. The howling while you're in the stadium. So I don't know. I'll touch on all of that. I'm not the most conventional person, so it was always just fun rooting for those types of personalities.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny you brought up Derek Wolfe, and I don't know, this is way off topic, but I was listening to Derek Wolfe talk not too long ago, and he was talking about, and this is completely off topic, but he was talking about how his play style, because I don't know if you remember, or if the chat remembers, but he was like a defensive tackle 5 technique, right? He played in a similar role, not a similar role. I don't know what I'm talking about, but in a typical 3-4 defense, he would play the same role as a Draymond Jones. Draymond Jones, obviously, Evero's throwing him all over the place, but in a typical 3-4 defense, or Malik Jackson, right? That was another one. he was talking about like I would be a dinosaur in today's NFL, right? Because he was a run stopping 5 technique and a base 3-4 that could be moved if you were to get into a nickel or something like that. He would be more of your inside technique, and he just was kind of like an undersized defensive tackle, right? That was his play style, and it is true. Like nowadays, you're looking at when you look at that position, we're looking at Fletcher Cox, who's a defensive tackle. He's a monster, but he can really get after the passer. Chris Jones, Malik Jackson back then would translate to today's NFL really great. Draymond Jones. These are the type of guys that you're looking at. But yeah, it's an interesting role. The NFL changes, and with that, what you're looking for from specific players changes as well. And I thought that was an interesting conversation they brought up.
The eras really change, and they do. I would even point, and this is just gonna show my biases, and a lot of people will pick on me for it, but like Wes Welker, I really enjoyed watching his play style. It's not
Yes,
something
he
you
was
see
fun.
all the time.
He
It's a
was
ton of
fun.
fun. And then obviously becoming a Bronco
Oh
just
my
made
God.
everything full circle for me.
Watching Wes Welker get hit was a travesty when he was a Bronco, man. I felt so bad for Wes Welker. He was a really small player. And watching him, because his game was the inside, right? It was, I'm going to work right where the linebackers are. Pretty much. That's where Wes Welker ate. And watching him, I don't remember how tall he was, probably like 5'8". He wasn't a very big guy at all either. Like he wasn't like, I don't know, there's some of these 5'8" guys that are like just jacked, right? And that wasn't Wes Welker's game. He would work over that middle of the defense. And when you talk about a tough SOB, Wes Welker was one of them because it never stopped. He had a long career doing exactly that. Now, obviously, the concussion started to come in. That would suck drastically. But for how long of a career he had doing that and playing in that role at his size, like, wow, props to Wes Welker.
Absolutely. Samuel Castro, I wanted to highlight his comment because he's bringing up the three amigos. How could you not? I might be a little older than you guys. My favorite players to watch were Dennis Smith, Vance Johnson, Mark Jackson, and Steve Atwater. Favorite non-player was Barry Sanders.
My dad always talks about Dennis Smith so I wasn't around long enough to see Dennis Smith when he was playing at his prime, but my dad always talks about like, hey, Carl Mecklenburg gets all this hype for he should be a Hall of Famer. My dad always says that Dennis Smith should always be a Hall of Famer. He says his hands were terrible. He dropped 1 million picks, but if you were looking for a shutdown corner, Dennis Smith was one of them. So I respect it.
Zach is in the chat. I don't know why he's supposed to be going somewhere, but he said, did Breeze, I'm not even going to pronounce, I overthink it every single time. So when I've said Ayuk, I got yelled at for it. So now every time I go to say it, I hesitate. I know. And that's what I get. I need my confidence to be a little bit better because I will go out of my way to learn how to spell Okwuegbunam. Like I know how to spell it, and I'm over here being like, I don't know if I said it right. And then of course Zach had to point it out. So thanks.
I don't even listen. I'm not even going to attempt that one. That one is Albert O. And I saw people giving other analysts crap like, "This is your job, and you can't pronounce his name." Listen, I bet I could.
I just gave it to you.
I promise I'm not. I'm not going to. It's Albert O. That's what it is.
Like
everyone can simple it down. And that's what it is.
Oh my God. See, I worry for nothing. D-Bronx said a Bronco would have been a good in today's game was Tony Scheffler, good receiver, tight end, but he couldn't block and coaches hated him for it for 15 years. Okay. One, I have 2 points to that. And he was on the running for my greatest decade of players from the 2000s. 2000s.
Yeah, no, he was like, it was probably like 2010 era, like 2012, probably like right around there. For sure. Yeah, Tony Scheffler was like that. He was a receiving tight end, slider guy, right? A lot like you nailed it. A lot like the tight ends that we're seeing in today's NFL. That tight end duo was fun though. Do you remember Daniel Graham? The exact opposite of Tony Scheffler, humongous tight end from CU, and really could make things happen in the run game, was like an extra blocker on the line of scrimmage, and then also like was a more than serviceable wide receiver. Daniel Graham, we would love to have you on the podcast.
If you're watching, please join
Please.
us. We'll send you a link right now. You can jump on
Ooh.
live.
I think
How
we need
crazy
Daniel
was
Graham on the podcast. If you guys want Daniel Graham at the podcast, go
Comment.
let Daniel Graham know that we want him on the podcast.
Take the link and drop it in his mentions. I'm just
Yes.
saying. It seems like the good way to go. Zach Seegers is leading a presentation on how to pronounce Alberto's name, or the advanced way, Okuebanam. It's right there, Joey. It's really not that hard.
No, it's pretty hard. I'm not going to do it. So you see that O right there. That's what I'm doing. I can't memorize it. It's my fault.
I was going to get back to Samuel Castro's point. Yes, if you look at Dennis Smith's stats, he's pretty comparable to Ronnie Lott. Yes, he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Dennis Smith sounds like he was an absolute monster. Samuel Castro, if you can let me know, were his hands as bad as my dad tells me? Like, was he dropping picks all the time? That's my thing. My dad's always like, he dropped picks all the time, but boy, was he a good cornerback.
We do not blame the defense for not getting picks. Come on, man.
I do.
No. Okay. I initially asked this question not to divert from anything, but it was a tremendous segment of about 8 minutes of just pure gold. So thanks for sticking with us.
Yes.
I was hoping you were going to say somebody like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, or
not doing Patrick.
Joe
maybe
Burrow.
That's the one.
If you're a fan of any of those quarterbacks, or if you have a favorite team here, if you've been watching the World Cup and you're super excited about soccer now, we've got a treat for you. Let's Talk Broncos listeners. We just wanted to tell you a little bit about Signables, a cool new way to display your fanhood in your office, home, or fan cave. Signables are flat footballs with digitally printed signatures on them of your favorite players. That includes yours truly, Russell Wilson, and Zach normally has the Aaron Rodgers right in his screen view. We kicked him off though, although he's in the chat. So Zach, don't forget to hype up the Aaron Rodgers signable that you own. They're a great gift for your favorite football fan this holiday season, and you can collect your favorite player or your favorite team by going to check them out at signables.com.
Go fast to get a signables before they run out.
I mean, it's almost Christmas. I don't know what shipping times are. It's Christmas season.
It's true. The Russell Wilson one probably is fully in stock. I would personally go get a Joe Burrow one. That one I think is probably running low. That's the one right there. Or, hey, U.S. Soccer, third youngest team in the World Cup. Third youngest. By the time next 4 years, the next World Cup rolls around, we might be dominant in soccer too. I think that you should go get a Pulisic signables immediately. If I were to pick one right now, that would probably be it. Close second, Joe Burrow, because I like football more. But Pulisic right now, man, LeBron James of soccer. You can't go wrong.
Captain frickin' America. Samuel Castro is back with the answer about your question. Yes, pretty bad, but he'll knock people's heads off coming across the middle. That's all I'm going to ask from my defense. I love interceptions. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I really like a good
You like
tackle.
a hit stick?
Yeah. There's something about the crash of pads, and I don't care who you are. It's a little bit it's like the caveman piece in my brain goes off, and you hear it and you're like, oh, that was fantastic. It's terrible. It's no good if it's any head-to-head contact, but crashing pads is one of my most favorite things, I think, in this world. And that's why I'm a football fan. I did have a segue. Oh, yep. No, I remember it now. Then I ruined it, but because Zach's not here to play Joey's question of the day, Frankie Abbott gave us a question to answer. So thank you. Shouts out Frankie's film. Frankie's question of the day, best Christmas song.
No, I don't know. Oh my God.
No, Joey. It's the holiday spirit. Get your signable. Sing a Christmas carol. It doesn't even have to be traditional.
Listen, just go get the signable. Why we got to do the Christmas carol?
Chat, wherever you are, start telling me your favorite Christmas song. This applies to you as well.
Okay, Bree, what's yours?
You can't just it's in sync. It's Christmas time. I think that's what it's called. Let me look. I don't remember song names very easily. I just have it on my no, actually I lied. I lied straight to your face because I was scared. It's Hanson. Hanson's Christmas album's really good. But the second would be
What
and
if
I
I
don't look like that's what I listen to, but I really like Elvis. Oh, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays by NSYNC. It's just so fun. It comes on everywhere. Wayne King says his is Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Wayne.
I got ran over by a reindeer? Is that your favorite? Okay, Wayne likes Grandma Got run over by a reindeer.
You can literally choose anything.
I am not a big seasonal music listener. It's a lot like my it's a lot like my take on Thanksgiving turkeys, right?
I don't really like
If
Thanksgiving
it
or
was
Easter
really that
music.
good, I'm telling you, if they really had a banger of a Christmas song, we would be listening through it throughout the holidays. Like why we only listen to this song during Christmas? If it was really that good, I'm telling you right now, I would go play it anytime. We play all the good songs anytime. I'll tell you right now, some of my favorite songs they sound good in the summer and winter. Why why is it that the Christmas music only sounds great in Christmas? It's like I don't get any of this type stuff, but yeah, that's my take.
My confused face. Sometimes I forget that like my mouth is agape and I'm just sort of like staring at the comments because Joey's saying this nonsense over here. And I'm trying to read the chat to make sure I can highlight some of these comments. Coop chimed in with Shoot 'Em Up by Nas is my favorite Christmas song, in my opinion, or is a Christmas song in my opinion, because of the beat. My favorite of all time. Samuel Castro says his is it's gotta be Mariah Carey.
Go listen to Jeezy the Snowman.
That is ridiculous. I feel like now at Mile High Sports Studios, I'm going to have to key up some Christmas music because I think you're just being silly. And I think it's just probably because you think it's just not cool to listen to Christmas music. And I can tell you
No.
right now, it'll get stuck in your head and you'll start singing like Elvis. Like Elvis will get stuck in your head. It's great.
No,
And
it
you can listen
doesn't.
to it any point in time. Okay, how about the
Bree,
soundtrack to Nightmare Before Christmas?
I've never had any of these songs stuck in my head, me personally. Um, well, okay, I'm lying. I have had these songs stuck in my head before, but when they do get stuck in my head, I'm like, we need to get this out immediately, right? So I start like binging myself in my playlist immediately, like repeating lyrics, trying to get it out as quick as possible.
All right. Well, we won't let the listeners suffer any longer. Feliz Navidad was my grandfather's favorite, and it'll get
That's
stuck in my head. It's a really good
yeah,
song.
yeah.
Thank you, Samuel Castro. And now
I
Joey
know.
will be humming it the rest of the evening. And then I think you may have spurred him to listen to Christmas music until it's time for that holiday. I'm reading Not True. Oh, see? He called you out on your shit.
Just because I know him doesn't mean it's like stuck in my head. Like Wayne, respect you. I love you, Wayne. Like you're one of my favorites. But at the same time, like you can't convince me that I actually like this Christmas music. Like I'll tell you right now, objectively, I do not. Like it's not good. I'm telling you guys. Why is there even seasonal music? Like why don't we just listen to the music we like all the time?
Oh my
That's my
God.
philosophy on it.
If you want, you can go follow Joey on Twitter and you can yell at him about his Christmas music choices. That's at JR Drafts. Joey, what other work you got to promote for the people?
Yes, I'm working on what are the biggest needs the Broncos should draft. I'm going to be ranking them. I think I'm going to do five positions. I'm going to rank them. So what makes it a little more interesting is it's going to be like skill, like position value also matters, right? So like offensive tackle, more valuable than running back. So I'm going to be ranking what the Broncos need this offseason in order of what their highest priority should be, I guess. So keep an eye out for that. Frankie and I have a show every Thursday where we talk about the draft. We're going to do wide receivers part 2 this Thursday. So many wide receivers in the draft, so we have to do a part 2. And then, yeah, that's all I really have, guys. I highly suggest everybody go listen to Bree on the radio. She does a terrific job over there. So make sure you're listening to that. I was on there 2 weeks ago or a week ago, right? It was 2 weeks.
Well, yeah.
Okay, 2 weeks ago. We'll roll with 2 weeks ago. It was one of these days I was on there. And I was talking about the draft. We had fun. I had some George Payton takes. I think everybody should go listen to that as well.
Thank you so much for that. If you are interested in tuning into the Fan Cave for Mile High Sports Radio, you can find it on milehighsports.com. Listen live. You can do radio on demand, or you can, hit up my Twitter 1 to 2 p.m. Mountain Time and watch the live stream as I shout into a microphone, much like I do every single day here with Let's Talk Broncos. I implore you to please go follow Frankie's Film and at Robbie _
Do that
NFL.
immediately.
Tremendous follows. If you like what we offer here at Let's Talk Broncos, you're going to enjoy what those guys bring on a daily basis over on Twitter. You can follow their stuff. And if you follow us over on YouTube for Let's Talk Broncos, you're just going to search in the toolbar when you're done here, because that's the most logical thing to do. Search for Let's Talk Broncos, subscribe. That's where you're going to get the breakdowns from the guys, and you're going to be able to watch Joey and Frankie every single Thursday. I'm going to quickly cover this with Riker. Riker Will said, have you all given picks for this week's Broncos Chiefs game? No, but I want you to tune in Friday and Saturday. Friday will be bold predictions, and Saturday will be the preview. Although I can tell you right now, I'm not choosing the Broncos. We appreciate you all watching along with us, engaging with the show. And most importantly, if you could that would be fantastic. Like the stream. It gives us some more eyeballs on this thing, and we can continue to bring you our brand of Broncos talk. Have a good evening, everybody. And we will see you tomorrow with a brand new live episode. Get your questions ready because it's mailbag, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.